Now, Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson Mzwanele Manyi joins us to just explain former President Jacob Zuma's latest challenge relating to the Truth and Reconciliation inquiry, because former President Jacob Zuma is said to be continuing his challenge on Justice Khampepe's presiding over the TRC inquiry. Let's just get the facts straight then and speak to the Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson, Mzwanele Manyi. Mr. Manyi, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us here on News at Prime on channel 405. Let's just get the facts straight, if you will. Allow us to understand exactly what is the latest court bid that is being put forward by the former president.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening to your viewership. Yeah, indeed, what is happening now, His Excellency President Zuma has lodged a review application to review the rational decision of Justice Khampepe. Because, I mean, anybody, you don't have to even be a lawyer just to see the gravity of the situation. If you look at the submissions made by both presidents, you can see that the case is totally unassailable. And for her to decide that no, because of lateness or time and whatever, some fuzzy technicality, she's trying to get away with that. So the submission in court is that her decision must be set aside. And indeed, because we want the justice to prevail, because we want the victims of apartheid to have proper closure, we want to be part of those that remove all the obstacles, all the things that could contaminate this case, all the things that will destroy the credibility of this case. With an empire like Justice Khampepe, the only outcome that can result out of this is a very tainted case.
One of the major things here is also that the accusation is that Judge Khampepe has actually been coaching the legal arguments of the evidence leaders and of the other side as well when it comes to this, and also her place previously as a commissioner for the TRC overall. Is the standing notion here that a fair trial to all of this cannot happen on the basis of all of those, as opposed to understanding that maybe those elements are the key reason why it may be important to have somebody who has distinct knowledge of the matters at hand?
Yeah, most definitely. Look, if you have an officer of, if you have a judicial officer that has acted in a manner that is so egregious, in fact, we even hold the view that even the reason Judge Khampepe was impeached makes that reason look like a Sunday picnic. Here, we have someone whose actions are not some inference or some interpretation or some whatever, but we have actual things where somebody sends an email, somebody actually coaches the one side, and on a matter that must also be heard by her. I mean, that is the most unethical conduct any judicial officer can get himself or herself involved in. So on that and that alone, it should have been enough for Justice Khampepe to know that she erred, she lapsed error of judgment, and so that on its own should be enough to disqualify her. Over and above the fact that she's also heavily conflicted. One of the agencies that must respond to the delay in these cases, to the non-prosecution of these cases, are organs of state that she was part of. She was part of the NPA at a very senior level, number 2 in the NPA office. She was also a commissioner in TRC. Those structures of the time must respond as to what happened. Now, you can't have the same person who was, I mean, this point has been made time and time again, that you can't make your own homework. One would have thought this is pretty obvious, but clearly it is not for Justice Khampepe, and we hope that the court, because at least she was given an opportunity to respond to this. She didn't even do this. She didn't even respond to this opportunity to state her case. She sent there was some purported representation on her behalf, and she also did another fault of not putting together a confirmatory affidavit. She now behaves as if she is an institution, when in fact she is a human being, as it were. So even at that level, it just shows that she thinks that she operates above the law.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Manyi,
are of the view that a court of fairness must be able to find against her.
Mr. Manyi, what happens then if this latest court bid is unsuccessful? What would be the recourse at that stage, do you feel?
Yeah, no, look, we're going to High Court, and obviously then there's all other two more senior courts above that. So we'll take this to the far end if sanity doesn't prevail. For us, we will stop at nothing to ensure that justice is not only done, but it is seen to be done. Now, if that means going to all the levels of courts, the foundation is prepared to assist President Zuma to do this.
Mr. Manyi, allow me to draw some parallels here, if I may, and please correct me if I'm wrong at any stage here as well. When it comes to the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, it was a request and a notion by the former President Jacob Zuma to have the Judge Zondo at that time to recuse himself from that commission because of the closeness of relations that he felt he had with the presider of that Commission of Inquiry. It comes to the arms deal. You have Billy Downer, who's also a request by former President Jacob Zuma to recuse himself as well. And then now we have the TRC inquiry, another one in which the former president is seeking a recusal of the inquiry chair. Does this not infer a kind of MO or modus operandi when it comes to court cases faced by the former president in looking for recusals?
Yeah, let's carry on along your line of thought. As we speak here today, we have judges that are in court for corruption. As we speak, judges of the High Court are in court for corruption, and this is fact, which means that judiciary is not as clean as we would want it to be. So all these judgments that you're talking about, we don't know because Kwanazi has told us that some of these judges are corrupt to the core. So whether some of these rulings are because of corruption in the judiciary is yet to be investigated and to be found out. But as we know for a fact, is that this notion that judges are holier than thou has really been thrown out of the window, because judges can be corrupt. Judges are in court as we speak for corruption. So we don't put a lot of respect to some of these rulings that are against President Zuma, because of exactly what General Mkhwanazi has found out.
Okay, but Mr. Manyi, just to make sure that I'm not getting you incorrect here, I don't want to mislead or say anything incorrect. Your inference by that is not to suggest that all three of the judges that have named in these court cases, the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, arms deal with Billy Downer, the TRC inquiry now with Khampepe, you're not suggesting that all three of those are corrupt judges, right? Because that would be a stark allegation and something to obviously need to defend quite vigorously.
You made reference of the various rulings, and you didn't talk about individuals. You're talking about institution of the judiciary, and I am saying the operators in that institution are not holier than thou. They are not Jesus Christ. They are human beings, flesh and blood. They go to church, they drink, they do all kinds of things that other people do. So therefore, they cannot be removed from people that they can do wrong. And I'm saying there's evidence to this, because as I'm talking to you here and now, there is a judge that has appeared in court with all kinds of corruption issues, accepting bribes as it were a judge. So therefore, you cannot put it past judges that they can be corrupted to make certain rulings, because we've got one in court as we speak. You know, so that's the point we're making. And we're saying we hope that even with the Madlanga Commission, there has to be a bit of focus on the judiciary. as it were. So yeah, that's
So-
really our point, and we're not backing down from that.
So is that a lack of trust in the judicial system in the country from your end?
Well, we think that the judiciary has a duty to inspire confidence to society. Now, as long as members of the judiciary are in court for corruption, that cannot inspire confidence. It is up to judiciary to get its house in order. Cannot have a situation where a judge is in court for corruption. So that, not us, that the conduct of the judges is really despicable that would have a judge in court. So therefore, whether when you see a judge there, you see a holier than thou, that thing of sober as a judge, all of those things are no longer applicable now because judges have dropped standards to that level.
All right. Mr. Manyi, a very fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for, I think, a lot of clarity as well in the court challenge here that still persists with regards to Sisi Khampepe leading the inquiry into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Appreciate your time this evening.